Monday Night Raw starts off with John Cena. Starts off with him cutting a promo. Not gonna really go that in depth on the promo because it wasn't really much to get from this promo. He basically ends up saying that he understands the fans. He knows the fans better than they know themselves, and that the fans are very predictable and that they're all very selfish and bad people. And then towards the end of his promo, which is where it really got interesting, he ends up saying that he wants to ruin WrestleMania and that he will win the 17 championship and retire with the championship. Then you get Cody Rhodes. He comes out, not really going to go over what Cody Rhodes says because it's really nothing special. Basically, he says that he's going to prevent Cena from winning number 17 for the most part. Then he talks about, how grateful the fans are and all of that. One thing I will say about the segment wasn't bad. It was fine. It was okay. Why are they not having Cody and Cena go back and forth? I I understand building towards that point, but it's like this is the Mania match. This is the night two main event. I don't think you really need to build towards them going back and forth. Like I've I'm not understanding why they're having Cody Rhodes come out, cut a promo against John, but John just doesn't respond. I'm not understanding. They did have a moment where Cody wanted John to try to take the title from him. John pretended like he was going to fight Cody, but then he ends up running. He ends up walking away. Um, I wonder why they're not going to the. I wonder why WWE is not allowing them to go back and forth. I don't know if they don't want John Cena to cut Cody Rhodes on the microphone. I don't know what it is, but eventually they're going to have to go back and forth. I don't understand why they're not having John Cena and Cody Rhodes have a battle between them two on the microphone. I don't understand it. That would make the feud a lot more interesting. The feud is interesting just because mainly because Cena's a heel, but you can't ride off Cena being a heel for the first time forever. Like we have to eventually, progress this, especially because Mania is literally a month away. So we got to progress this, sooner rather than later. But overall, this segment wasn't bad. But I'm hoping they pick it up next week because we can't slowly build this. Like we don't have much time. Um, After this, we end up getting Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso. We end up getting the Usos reunited as a tag team for tonight against A Town Down Under. It was fun watching the Usos perform as a tag team again, but of course the Usos picked up the victory. After the match, though, we end up getting Gunther comes out, tags Jimmy and Jay. It was a moment where Jay was getting the upper hand, but he ends up accidentally slipping, and then Gunther takes advantage, and then you end up getting Jimmy making a save with bringing out a chair. Now, after this, we end up getting a segment between the Usos where Jay and Jimmy was talking about the match at Mania. Jay's not feeling confident that he could beat Gunther. Jimmy, of course, try to uplift his spirits. Gives him the motivational speech. Then he ends up seeing Gunther walking backstage, and he ends up challenging Gunther to a match. With the segment ending with him slapping Gunther. I like what they're doing here. I will say this: they have to do a different formula for this Jay and Gunther feud. I've been one of the main supporters of this feud because I don't hate this build, but they cannot keep doing this thing where they keep having Gunther constantly attack Jay over and over again because it gets very repetitive. Now, the story that they're trying to tell right now is that Jay doesn't feel confident, and that because I know last week he ended up having a moment where he slipped over. He ended up slipping because he tried to do a dive, and this week he ends up slipping again. So they're telling the story of Jay not being confident. He's messing up his move. He's getting in his own head. That's a good story to tell, but they have to do it in a better way, in a more convincing way, in my opinion. But nonetheless, I understand what they're doing. I'm assuming Jimmy is going to lose next week. Now, how he loses, I don't really know. Now, I'm hoping that they do it in a way where it makes Gunther basically look like the dominant heel, but they also need to have some sympathy towards the Usos, if that makes sense. So you can have him put on a competitive match, but after the match, I need Gunther to demolish Jimmy Uso, put him through a table, something. You need more sympathy towards Jay to make this feud better and a bit more personal to make this work, in my opinion. But we'll see how this plays out next week. After this, we end up getting Lyra versus Raquel for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Lyra picks up the victory. Don't need to go that in depth on the match. The match was fine. Afterwards, you end up getting Liv and Raquel attacking Lyra. Then you get Bayley comes in, helps Lyra, takes out Liv and Raquel, and they both stand tall with Lyra and Bayley having a moment with the championship. So it looks like Bailey is going to go after the Women's Intercontinental Championship. It looks like they're teasing that. We don't know if that's going to happen next week on Raw or at Mania because we don't know what they're doing with Bailey or Lyra at Mania because they haven't built them at all for potential matches. They did this thing where Roxanne Perez with Bailey, but apparently that went nowhere. They haven't done that in weeks, and they haven't even had a one-on-one match. So I'm assuming that plan is completely scrapped. And Lyra, we don't know what they're doing with her. So I don't know what they're doing with these two. Maybe this could be a potential WrestleMania match, which I wouldn't mind. Now it's a little awkward because they're babyface versus babyface. So that's a little bit weird, but we'll see how this plays out. I'm interested in the idea. I just don't know about the execution would be right, but who knows? We'll see how that plays out. After this, when I'm getting Adam Pearce, he tries to cut a promo. He tries to address, the situation with Io, Rhea, and Bianca, with Rhea signing the contract. He basically says that her signing the contract doesn't mean anything and that the match is still stands as Io Bianca. And he was trying to say something else, but he kept getting interrupted, which allowed Io Sky to interrupt him, saying that she doesn't care about, she doesn't care if Rhea gets in the match because she could take on both of them. Then you end up getting Bianca coming out. She ends up stating her case that she won the Elimination Chamber. She's the number one contender and that Rhea Ripley cannot just walk her way into this match because she does not deserve it. Then you get Rhea Ripley. She comes out, and they end up doing the same thing they've done for the past 2 weeks, where Rhea and Bianca end up arguing with each other, with Io Sky trying to be the third wheel, try to get inside the conversation, but they end up shoving her. It was about to be, well, ended up does being a brawl, but Io Sky tries to attack them, but Adam Pearce ends up stepping in between Io. He ends up yelling at all three women to finally get his point across, and he ends up saying that Rhea and Io Sky will have a match, will have a rematch to determine to see who will face Bianca at WrestleMania. Since Rhea Ripley wants her rematch, then you end up getting all three of them brawling with Bianca standing tall. Now, at first, I was super confused because I was like, how are they going to have? Because we all know this is a triple threat match, but I was like, how are they going to have these women in a triple threat if you're just going to have the rematch happening? But afterwards, they end up having a segment between Adam and Bianca Belair is the special guest referee. So, with that being said, it is very obvious what is going to happen next week. Rhea is going to be some type of shenanigans where one person pins the person, where Bianca may gets distracted or some sort. Or something's going to happen like that. She's going to be late on the pinfall. Then they're going to get in the face. Then they're going to attack. Like, yeah, this is so obvious how this is going to happen, but this is probably the best way that this can happen. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. I'm liking what they're doing with this. This is one of the more interesting stories that they have outside of really the John Cena heel turn and Roman, Seth, and Punk. This is probably up. This is definitely top three most interesting things at Mania. So I like what they're doing here. This is very interesting. I'm interested to see how this plays out. Afterwards, we end up getting Dragon Lee versus Chad Gable, or Americano. I think that's what Chad Gable was calling himself, as the Luchador. Yeah, because Chad Gable's still going with the story that he isn't the Luchador. They end up giving the masked Luchador his own vignette, his own vignette, like he's about to make his debut. Give him his own entrance, even though this was great. I love the story that they're telling of Chad Gable pretending like he is not the masked luchador. I'm loving the story that they're doing here. Chad Gable picks up the victory by ripping off Dragon Lee's mask, which allowed him to put him in an ankle lock and pick up the victory. I like what they're doing here. Now, I will say this. Eventually, when it does come to the point where Chad Gable needs to reveal himself, can they please have him actually beat Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio? Because I'm sorry. Look, I love Rey Mysterio, but he does not need to win this feud. He needs to lose this feud. Now, you can have him cheat, whatever, but if you're just going to have him go on this whole luchador quest to finally be able to overcome his luchador problem and you still have him lose, yeah, no. Like, Chad Gable and American Made need this. They need this feud. Well, they don't need the feud. They need this victory over this feud. You can't have them win. So hopefully that's where I'm hoping it's going. But something tells me that somehow Rey Mysterio and OWO is going to win this feud. But I'm hoping that's not the case. Then afterwards, we end up getting Braun Breaker versus Penta, the main event. I'm not going to really go over the match because it's really the ending that matters. Towards the end of the match, you end up getting Judgment Day. They interfere, causing a disqualification. They attack Braun Breaker. Then you get Dominic Mysterio tries to Well, Finn Balor actually. Finn Balor hits Braun Breaker with a chair. Then you get Dom hitting him with a chair. Then you get Dominic heading the chair to Penta because Dominic tries to recruit Penta. Penta looked like he was about to hit Braun, but he ends up attacking Dominic instead. Then Finn Balor attacks Penta, and then you get that's the end of the segment. I'm gonna be honest. I do not care about this at all. I just don't. The Judgment Day are so cold and so boring right now. I just don't care. Now I think I know what they're going with this. I think this is gonna be some type of fatal four way maybe, where Braun, Penta, Finn, and Dominic are all in the match. Finn is not gonna like that Dominic is in the match. Then during the match, they're gonna have some comfort. They're gonna have some type of issue where they both try to go for the pin or whatever, and that's gonna cause issues within the group. I'm assuming that's how they're gonna play this out. I just don't care. I'm sorry. I just don't care. The group is so boring right now. They're so stale. Like I just don't care. I just don't care. It is what it is. Overall, this show was very it was very mid. I'm just gonna be the only interesting thing about this show is really the women's segment, and even that was a bit iffy, mainly the brawl. But yeah, it was really the women's segment that was really the only entertaining thing. But other than that, this show is very mid. Hopefully they pick it up next week. But overall, that's my thoughts and opinions. You guys let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.